How to Get a Permit in BC by Edward Vega, sponsored by Canadian Blueprint. I'd like to take a moment and thank our sponsors, Canadian Blueprint, for paying for this course and paying for me to be here. I'm moving on to the presentation. Have you ever wanted to renovate your kitchen? Add a kitchen island with a sink on it. Or add more living space. Perhaps put a secondary suite. Mortgage helper would be nice. Enclose your carport. Perhaps make it into a shop or a garage. Build a deck or add a couple of feet to your existing deck. Well, you're going to need a building permit. What is a building permit? A building permit is an agreement between you and the authority having jurisdiction about what's going to be constructed. The most significant reason to get a building permit is because it's unsafe to do construction without one. The building permit ensures that the minimum construction standards are achieved. What gov.bc.ca says, permits help to ensure the construction and major renovations comply with local bylaws, the building code, and health and safety standards. Get a building permit to avoid a stop work order. These documents are issued to the owners that they cannot carry out or allow any construction to be done in contravention to the stop work order. This means you've started construction without the permit. You may have hired a contractor, but you're not sure if they're following building code or if they're following WBC standards. If he gets hurt, WBC is going after the owner. To be able to ensure your construction, this is a big point. You will not be able to ensure your construction without a building permit. And if somebody gets hurt during the construction, they're going after the owner. Project delays. So now you have a stop work order. You have unsafe construction that you have to bring back until a safe construction, until a safe building. Your project is not insured. You have to start coming up with blueprints, reverse engineering to possibly save what you've already constructed. All this causes project delays, which is likely what the owner was trying to save in the first place: time. Municipalities don't take kindly to stop work orders, and now the permit will take longer than if the person would have gone through the right procedure to begin with. I talked about reverse engineering. Well, what if the construction doesn't meet zoning code? Or the beams were undersized? The owner has no choice but to tear it down, and if the budget allows, reconstruct. My experience. I work for Canadian Blueprint, a company that specializes in building permits, home renovations, and commercial renovations, also known as tenant improvements. We also work on custom new homes. We have experience getting building permits for some very elaborate construction. For example, this construction was considered a renovation, even though it was a complete gut. This helped the owner get some extra square footage by building under the old zoning bylaw rather than the more stringent code. These are some of the documents required for an interior renovation in Vancouver. So how to get a building permit. This first step, you want to define your scope. Here you decide what you want to get constructed, when, and how much budget do you have to build it. A well-defined scope will allow the designer to provide design options. If you want to get the most out of your investment with little risk, a detailed blueprint is required. Hire the right designer by checking their experience. Do they have the right experience for the scope that you have? For example, some designers may have tons of experience designing new homes, but a renovation is a completely different animal. Check the reviews on Google. Verify the quality of work. In this age of social media, nothing is private. If they don't have a social media page, I would be worried on hiring them. What are they trying to hide? Availability. I know during the time of COVID, a lot of designers weren't taking meetings. Canadian Blueprint was proactive and had Zoom meetings to be able to move forward with the project. Check if they're part of a recognized association. Being part of a recognized association means you have the education required. And not just the education, you also have the insurance required to do the work that you're performing. Check what the title means. Documents required. Beyond the construction blueprints, you're also going to need a structural engineer, their engineering drawings with schedules, a survey of your lot. Possibly you might even need an energy advisor, the new energy step code. Have you looked into that? This is why it's important to hire the right designer to guide you through the process. Now, after the permit has been issued, you have 6 months to start the construction. The permit must be clearly posted outside the building. And you have to request your inspections 24 hours before you require them. You must always have an approved set of plans on site during the construction. Very important. Now let's recap what we've already covered. Define your scope of work, make sure it meets your budget. Talk to your local city hall on what you need based on your scope. Hire the right designer to guide you through the process. Hire the right contractor. We recommend someone with a red seal. This means they have studied to be a builder, not just somebody decided to do it that day. We call these fly-by-nights because they're here today to take your money. But when something goes sideways, you won't be able to find them. Here's our recommendations. We'll give you 3 of them. If you're not sure of the requirements you need, go to your local city hall. They'll be able to guide you on what you're going to need. Possibly give you some recommendations on who to contact. Never start any construction work without obtaining a building permit. And when in doubt, get advice from the professionals involved in your project. I've come to the end of my presentation. In summary, I spoke about the definition of a building permit, how to get a building permit, and the things you gain by getting a building permit. If you have any questions, feel free to contact us at info@canadianblueprint.com. Thank you for taking the time and seeing this video to the end.